last time out, South Africa was tipped to win their Rugby World Cup tie against Japan. The final score turned out to be remarkably different. We have reactions after the Springboks' second match against Samoa. Hello and a very warm welcome to Match Point here on CCTV Africa, the program that brings you African sports news, features, action and highlights from the continent and beyond. I'm Mahia Mutua. Also coming up, main continental football tournaments enter the semi-final stage. We examine the status of club football in Africa and why there's a push to make frisbee an institutional sport in Uganda. Well, we start with the Rugby World Cup, where South Africa has bounced back with a huge win over Samoa in their second match of the Rugby World Cup tournament. After a dramatic loss to Japan last weekend, South Africa have beaten Samoa 46-6. That was just a few moments ago. It was 17-6 for the Boks at half-time. Elsewhere, Italy were forced to hold on and see out a brave challenge from Canada to win 23-18 in Pool D of the Rugby World Cup for their first win of the tournament. The Italians went into the halftime break with a slender 13-10 lead, but were then forced to dig deep in defense. The Canadian backline posed a constant threat up until the final whistle, following fine tries from wing DTH van der Merwe and fullback Matt Evans. Italy had earlier gone ahead with scores from prop Michele Rizzo and centre Gonzalo Garcia, but in the end it was the boot of Tommaso Allan that proved the difference between the well-matched sides, the fly half weighing in with 13 points. Now, both Kenya and South Africa took substantial steps towards qualifying for the Rugby Sevens competition at next year's Summer Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. They've qualified for the semi-finals of the Women's Africa Cup Sevens in Johannesburg. Playing out of Pool A, the home side registered 3 straight wins against Zambia, Namibia and Zimbabwe. South Africa were seemingly unstoppable, beating Zambia 59-0, Namibia 69-0, and Zimbabwe 33-0. They play Uganda tomorrow in their final tie. Kenya's Lionesses got off to a winning start as well, beating Botswana 46-7 before drubbing Senegal 52-0. They struggled in their final match, eventually overpowering Tunisia 19-7. They too can top their pool when they face Madagascar in their final group stage match on Sunday. Meanwhile, Zimbabwe's women's sevens rugby team is hoping to put a series of logistical problems behind them as they bid for a place at the 2016 Olympic Games. Farai Mwakutuya brings us more details.
They may be plagued by financial problems that almost saw them fail to make it this far, but these women have put them at the back of their minds as they head out to take on Africa's best. The women's game has not been spared from the economic problems that have already adversely affected their male counterparts and has struggled to attract players. The men's senior national team's Africa Cup campaign ended in humiliation at the hands of Namibia after poorly funded preparations. The problems cut across all sporting disciplines. The national women's soccer team was eliminated from Olympic qualifiers after failing to fulfill an away fixture. The woes do not bode well for the Lady Cheetahs, but they're still putting on their game faces.
We've struggled and we continue to struggle, but nevertheless we've not let that deter us. Every member of the team and some of the non-traveling members as well have personally contributed from their own pockets. That's how excited we are.
But they will get a stiff test of their resolve when they come up against the much-fancied hosts.
In our group, we're playing South Africa, who are ranked first in Africa, and it's always going to be an uphill task. They are in a professional setup where they actually get paid to play, and here we are as Zimbabweans coming from our background where we play for the love of the game. It's obviously a big difference.
With only the winning team automatically qualifying for Rio next year, Zimbabwe is placing its hopes on capturing the 2nd, 3rd or 4th slot, which would give them another shot via a world qualification tournament in early 2016. Farai Mwakutuya, CCTV, Harare, Zimbabwe.
And just to give you an update on Zimbabwe's progress in their qualification for the Olympics, they won their first 2 matches earlier today. They beating Uganda 19-5 before getting another win against Zambia. That match ended 37-0. Then, of course, they lost against South Africa 33-0. So they are still going to continue their run for the Olympics tomorrow. Moving on to Uganda now, where Ivan Kwaso has made an incredible and swift breakthrough in the bodybuilding world. Now, he, in turn, is inspiring young bodybuilders in his country to follow in his footsteps. Leon Senyange reports.
Ivan Kwaso didn't always sport this well-built physique. As a teenager, he was too small to get noticed by his peers. Football then was his favorite sport, until he made the turn to bodybuilding.
By the time I entered to the gym, I did not have intention of coming on the stage, and I was inspired by friends. There were bouncers, and also I thought maybe I can make my body. I become like them.
Kwaso spends a lot of time in the gym working out, and he maintains a strict diet. He barely eats or drinks before a competition to cut down body fat. He says bodybuilding is more than mental endurance than strength. And indeed, his hard work has paid off. The 32-year-old was crowned Mr. Natural Universe 2015 in a contest in the USA.
It's like a dream. I was expecting to be in the top 3, but I got surprised also by the time they announced it, Uganda, that he has won the Mr. Universe. You know, and by that time I remember that tears was dropping out my eyes when the national anthem is playing, the Uganda flag is going up.
Kwaso is determined to bring more medals back home.
Arnold Schwarzenegger won Mr. Universe 6 times. I want to make it for Uganda 3 times. This is the first time, and I promise you guys, I will win 2 more times.
Kwaso is unrelenting in his pursuit to conquer the world. With 1 Mr. Universe title already, he is determined to win many more, but also see his teammates measure up to his success.
3, 2 to go.
Kwaso is training 2 promising bodybuilders. Mubarak Chizito is already a national champion. Bernard Kwaso will debut in a national event next year.
I want to go there and be a competitive bodybuilder and win something and make Ivan Kwaso proud, because that's what tells me you have to train and win.
While Kwaso's proteges draw inspiration from the man himself, he has a simple message.
One thing that I tell my guys, let them be disciplined. And they see that if someone you're disciplined, you reach far.
Kwaso's goal is to hit the very top of world bodybuilding one day. There are more titles to win, and this Ugandan believes he can go all the way. Leon Senyange, CCTV, Kampala.
Right now, turning back to the Rugby World Cup in England, now to give us further insight of the box at the World Cup. Here now is CS du Plessis, who joins us with guests live from Johannesburg. CS, obviously plenty of pressure on the South Africa rugby team, Coach Heineke Meyer, in a must-win match. What was the Springbok performance this evening, and what should we expect going forward?
Well, it was a much improved Springbok performance. 46-6 the final score over a team like Samoa, who are physical, who are going out to try and prove a point. But it was a much better South Africa today. Composed, more structured, and a lot of relief for their fans after the shock defeat, of course, to Japan just 7 days ago. Joining me in studio, Siobhan Chetty. She is a South African supporter, and obviously there must be a sense of relief, Siobhan, that South Africa got over the line in their first win at the Rugby World Cup.
It is a massive relief for all fans, and I think for the players on top of it, it's going to your first game at the Rugby World Cup and losing to a team who's only won 1 other game. It is devastating. So now to go against Samoa, who is a better team than Japan, and to beat them so convincingly, I think it's definitely a relief for the team.
How the South African public feeling ahead of the match against Scotland, because that's at St James's Park. It's close to the Scottish border. It's going to be a cauldron, if you like.
It definitely is going to be a cauldron, especially because Scotland beat Japan so convincingly in their last game. So now that we've got over that hurdle and we've got the win under us, I think we're just going to go forward and keep steaming forward. If you look at our performance today, we really were convincing. There are a few issues that we need to come right with, but if we just keep training and we keep pushing and running our game hard, then we're going to go far.
Been a lot of pressure on Heineke Meyer, of course. The last international win before this one, that was a recognised test, was against Italy, so he was under the pressure. The fans are happy to see that he's still in charge?
I think so. I think he's more relieved than anyone else, because to come home knowing that we've lost and to lose so badly to Japan, I think more than anyone else he's feeling the relief now, and he knows that the team is behind him again and the fans are starting to get behind him again, and that's the most important thing, because having your fans behind you is what actually pushes the team more than anything else.
So is it fair to say that tonight in South Africa will be a jovial mood around the Rainbow Nation?
Most definitely, especially coming off Heritage Day here in South Africa. I think we're all going to have rice tomorrow, we're all going to celebrate, and now we can really start enjoying the Rugby World Cup, because now our team is back to performing the way that we know that they can perform.
Siobhan, thank you very much. So the South African fans are very happy. They're also happy about the South African women's sevens team. They were in action, of course, today. 3 wins on the bounce, yet to concede a try. And their eye is, of course, on the Olympic Games qualification. They go against Uganda tomorrow in their final pool game. And that will be interesting to see how that one goes. But so far, Coach Renfred Dazel will be a happy man, as well as the captains in Jordan, as they go into the final pool game tomorrow. That's in Johannesburg. Back to you in Nairobi.
All right, CS, thank you very much for that analysis. Indeed, we will be keeping an eye on South Africa's progress, both at the Rugby World Cup and the women's team in pursuit of Olympic qualification. Well, it's time for us to take a short break here on Match Point. Still to come when we return. Main continental football tournaments enter the semi-final stage. We examine the status of club football in Africa and why there's a push to make frisbee an institutional sport in Uganda. Welcome back. Now, Orlando Pirates of South Africa were due to face Al Ahly in the CAF Confederation Cup semi-finals at the Orlando Stadium on Saturday. The match presents the Soweto Giants with an opportunity to take advantage into the second leg. But the Buccaneers know how important the match is and how vital it is not to concede in the first leg, as CS Du Plessis now reports.
Revenge is a dish best served cold, according to Orlando Pirates coach Eric Tinkler. The Buccaneers coach believes that the first leg of the semi-final is hugely important, as it allows the Soweto Giants to exact revenge on Al Ahly for the defeat in the CAF Champions League 2 years ago. He's also stressed that motivation hasn't been a problem for the clash.
The response has been phenomenal. You know, even the guys that weren't registered were highly excited about the game. Everybody was early for training for a change yesterday. You know, it's the quickest I've seen the car park fill up at Rand Stadium. You know, everybody was available, everybody was keen, everybody was happy to be involved.
Captain Roy Mahia is confident that the side is ready to do the country proud, despite the injuries and suspensions plaguing the Sea Robbers ahead of the showdown.
It's a very crucial stage, and then we need to be focused in each and every time. We mustn't lose our concentration, because we knew that Al Ahly is a good team. If you lose concentration, they will punish you. In our home yard, we need to win, and they mustn't score.
Tinkler has stressed to his charges that they find themselves in a rare and privileged position ahead of the encounter against the Egyptian Giants.
I keep stating this to the players, that this is an opportunity of a lifetime. You don't find yourselves in this stage of a competition every year. And now you need to grab it with both hands. Because it's about, like the chairman said, it's about leaving a legacy. This is a massive cup, you know, and you will be remembered for many, many years to come. You know, and that's what you want to leave, is a lasting legacy. And you can achieve that by going all the way and winning this competition.
It's a massive opportunity for Orlando Pirates as they take on Al Ahly in the first leg of the semi-finals of the competition. They know if they have something to protect for the second leg away in Cairo, there's a very good chance they could progress to the final. But the match is all about revenge. They want to get revenge for the 2013 defeat to Al Ahly in the CAF Champions League. This is the opportunity, and coach Eric Tinkler said he hasn't had to motivate his players at all. They're up for it, they're ready, and they want to prove a point. CS Duplessis, CCTV, Johannesburg.
Well, now to give you an update on that match, which wrapped just moments ago between the Pirates and the Red Devils, Al Ahly. Pirates grabbed the early lead in just the 8th minute through Erasmus, and it stayed like that through to the final whistle. So Orlando Pirates winning 1-0 against Al Ahly going into the second leg. Well, now to give us further insight on the African club football this weekend, we're now joined by Marwan Said, who is a manager at kingfoot.com in Egypt, and Tayo Baluguna, sports analyst in Nigeria. Let's start with you, Marwan. It has been a particularly impressive season for Egyptian clubs in the CAF Confederation Cup. What is the reason behind this?
Myself, I see that Al Ahly and Zamalek have been really good on continental level. Al Ahly have the chance to be the first Egyptian team in history to reach the CAF Confederations Cup final 2 years in a row, which no other Egyptian club has ever had the chance to do. Zamalek have really benefited from their domestic form this season. It remains to be seen whether both clubs can reach the final actually. Zamalek have been really good in the league and in the cup this season. They've scooped the domestic double, while Al Ahly have come out empty-handed at the end of the season, so they will look to at least add one trophy to their cabinet, while Zamalek have the chance to win around five cups, which include the Egypt League, the Cup, the Super Cup, the Egyptian Super Cup, the CAF Confederations Cup, and the the Super Cup, African Super Cup. So unfortunately, Al Ahly today lost to Orlando Pirates, but the result is somehow expected, as Orlando were heading to the match to revenge their 2013 loss. They've also had a very good record, as they've only conceded 6 goals at the hands of Zamalek in the group stages, while Zamalek tomorrow face a very tough side in Tunisia in Etoile de Sahel.
Right, now, Tayo, turning to you, on the other hand, it would seem that Nigerian and West African football clubs have been on a bit of a decline in continental football competitions. What would you say are some of the reasons behind this?
Okay, Alec, thank you. But interestingly, it's not, we wouldn't call it a decline, so to speak, because, I mean, we've actually seen these guys grow individually. Some of our football stars, Nigerian football stars, as well as West African stars, have actually gone ahead to ply their trade outside the shores of the continent. Have actually shown they've been fantastic. Now, but as a team, I think what has been responsible for them is for the decline in football locally is underfunding of some of our teams. Most of these boys play one season, or they have 2 seasons, and they do very well, and they just find it very convenient to actually want to go to Europe to ply their trade. It's more like what some people call football brain drain. I mean, you do well in the season, you do well in a particular season for your club side. The next season, you are looking forward to want to leave the shores of your country to go ahead to play in Europe. I mean, we all know that the European League is glamorous, made so by so many aspects, and I'm sure some of these guys really want to leave the shores of their country to go ahead and play alongside the big boys, you know, quote and unquote. But it has affected our level of play. Individually, they are good, but we need some extra funding to actually make sure that these guys are kept happy and are given all that they need to get, so that they can actually continue to stay together as a team and continue to grow that team together. Eventually, I'm sure in the coming years, I'm sure all this will be put in proper place.
All right, so the onus falling to club owners and coaches. Turning back to you, Marwan, now, obviously Egyptian clubs have been known to excel in the top continental football competition, the Champions League. But given the near return to normalcy in Egypt's domestic league, are we likely now to see a return to the top flight for Egyptian clubs?
We've well known that Egyptian clubs, especially Al Ahly, have had success in the CAF Champions League the past couple of years, or even before that. It hasn't happened this year, as Al Ahly had a shock exit against Maghreb Tetouan in the CAF Champions League, as well as Samoa's inexperience, which cost them which they got only 3 points in the group stages. In a very tough group, actually, that had TP Mazembe and TP Mazembe. Anyway, I don't know if we'll return to normal, if everything will be normal. Actually, we have a lot of blips and bumps in the football here in the country the past season or two. The last thing happening was back in earlier this year when there was the Air Defense Stadium tragedy. Next season could be very good, considering that the CAF semi-finalists, the Confederation Cup semi-finalists, will both be playing in the Champions League. I think that both of them will go far, especially with the very great competition from Hilal, Orlando Pirates, and Mazembe next season.
All right, finally turning back to you, Tayo Balogun in Nigeria. Looking generally now at African football clubs, are we seeing a shift of power on the continent, especially given that Sudan now has 2 teams in the CAF Champions League semi-finals?
No. I don't think there's a shift in power. I mean, it has always been between the North Africans as well, between the North Africans and the West Africans. And Sudan producing 2 teams to play in the semi-final of the CAF Champions League this season doesn't mean there's a shift in Nigerian football. Yes, they have 2 teams, Al Hilal and Al Merreikh. Al Merreikh will be playing against TP Mazembe, and a lot of people have actually gone ahead to tip TP Mazembe to go ahead and play in the finals. I mean, they have history going into this particular tournament. I mean, they are the only side that are among the 4 that have won it about 7 times. Al Merreikh, aside from Sudan, well, they've not been fantastic on the Champions League. Talking about the CAF Champions League, they don't have pedigree, so to speak. But if they go ahead and play as underdogs and win, it will be something to celebrate. I mean, the guys will be happy. On the other side, Al Hilal is the more formidable side from the Sudanese side. So I'm sure a lot of people will want to support them. But I'm not going to say it's a shift in football powers, I mean, to South Sudan. You still have the likes of Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria did not participate. We did not get maximum participation in this season. I mean, we were woeful talking about Kano Pillars and Warriors when they went, and Eyimba when they went into this year's Champions League. That doesn't mean the next season, whoever is going to be representing Nigeria will be doing poorly going to next season. We still have the boys, the big guys in North Africa. We still have Egypt to look out for going to next season as well. We still have Algeria. We can't ignore Tunisia. And we're going to next season. So if you have one-offs like this, doesn't mean necessarily that there's a shift. Yes, Sudan, you can't ignore them. They've been to the World Cup in 1974. Congo, too, you can't ignore Congo. But again, they're still part of the power players in Africa. So it's not necessarily a shift. I don't want to use, I'm being careful not to use the word one-off. It would be good to see them next season repeat this feat. Before now, they've not really played in the finals. Not many people are actually tipping them to play in the finals, but they've done well for themselves. They're playing in the semi-finals, a terrain that they're very familiar with. So I would say it's not necessarily a shift. We've seen this. We're happy that it has happened, but we'll look forward to next season and see if they can repeat this particular feat.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tayo Balogun is saying there that the status quo remains. We were, of course, speaking there to Marwan Said, manager of kingfoot.com, and Tayo Balogun, sports analyst from Nigeria. Moving on now, ultimate frisbee is one of the growing sports on the domestic sporting scene in Uganda. The people behind it say they have big plans to keep up with the momentum, and with building interest, there is now a push to make frisbee an institutional sport, as Leon Senyange reports.
Cheers and screams, but this is not a football match. For the fans here, ultimate frisbee is their sport of choice. The sport was introduced in Uganda over a decade ago. Played by two teams, the objective is to score by catching a flying disc in the other team's end zone.
What makes it even more exciting is you make your own calls. We don't have a referee. It's you mutual understanding between the opponents. If you think it's a foul, you have to agree whether it's a foul or not, and we don't argue about it. One team says foul, no foul, fine. Keep the disc and play goes on.
For many years, ultimate frisbee has only been considered a pastime. It is now a highly competitive sport.
In Uganda alone, we have at least about 15 teams. Kenya has grown really rapidly. Rwanda, Kigali, we have at least maybe 4 teams there. So Uganda, like I said, is being that like one of the strongest teams within the region. It's growing. The level of play has gone really high.
With over 200 competitive players, the Uganda Ultimate Frisbee Association hopes to add schools to their gradually growing numbers.
We're looking at universities, we're looking at secondary schools, primary schools, because we believe through these youths, we will be able to push the game high up.
Despite soaring in popularity, the biggest challenge is competing for field space with other sports like soccer, rugby, and cricket.
We used to use the fields here at ShopRite. They were taken, the investors took all our space. We used to use those fields that side, they were also taken. And schools are now so tight, it's hard to break into or talk to them and get space.
Numerous tournaments have been set up where Uganda has participated. This has improved the power of the sport. And there is a chance frisbee will be the sport everybody can play. With ultimate frisbee now officially recognized by the International Olympic Committee, participation on the global stage is a sign of the richness of the sport. It may take a while though for these players to win an Olympic medal, but the spirit of seeing the sport grow is sky high. Leon Senyange, CCTV, Kampala.
Well, that wraps up this week's edition of Matchpoint. Remember, you can send your feedback to matchpoint@cctv.com. You can also visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa. You can also stay in touch on Twitter. The handle, as always, is CCTV News Africa. Thanks for watching. I'm Mahia Mutua. We leave you with this week's move of the week. It may be just one, but it counts for something. It's Namibia's sole try against New Zealand's All Blacks this week at the Rugby World Cup.
5 meters from the line, the crowd start to roar as they sense here's a chance for Namibia to get the ball over the line. Van Leeuw, pass goes deep to Kotza. Now here's Dysel charging at the line.